This is Jessica Lilly, and I'm interviewing Mable Robichaux on February 1st, 1986, in her home. Okay, first of all, I'd like you to say your full name and when you were born.
I was named Mable Novella Stockdick, and I was born November 8th, 1910.
Okay. So, at that time, y'all lived about 6.5 miles north of town, right?
Right, northeast.
And you went to the Stockdick school?
Yes.
And then y'all moved into Katy, so y'all could continue your education at Katy High School. Am I correct?
I was in first grade of high school, which was the 8th grade when we moved to Katy. We just had 11 grades then.
Was there anything special you remember about elementary school? Any teachers? I know that Kitty, what was her name?
Aunt Kitty Stockdick.
Right.
McGinnis.
She was a teacher at that school.
I think that was before I started.
I think so too.
She taught me. I remember Miss Alta Gilpin was one of the teachers.
Did you enjoy elementary school?
I think I did. I think even though we had just the one-room school, I think we got a good attention from our teachers, and it seemed like we got a good education as far as we went there.
Okay. In high school, did you take part in any extracurricular activities such as sports or any other clubs?
Not really. Was not much on the sports. And while others were playing things like that, I just kind of watched.
And cheered them on. Yay! Did you receive any special school honors?
I happened to be salutatorian of our class. There were only 13 of us. But
what year was that?
That was in 1928.
1928. Okay. And you said that you did not go to college, correct?
I did not. It seemed like at that time those that were going to be going into the teaching profession were going to college, and I didn't want to teach, so.
Did you stay at home, and did you ever get a job, or what did you do then?
I stayed at home and kind of helped take care of the other little sisters and brother. And then about 1930, I started working at what was the Katy State Bank. And I worked there until after I married and until the bank sold out to Citizen State Bank in Houston.
Okay. You said something earlier about you believe that your father was a director on Katy State Bank.
I was thinking he was, but I may not be sure about that.
Well, my mom, said that he was. So I'm sure if both of y'all cannot be wrong. So, okay. Did you date a lot during high school or after high school?
No, not really.
So,
I can't really remember but 2 others that I went with other than my husband.
I see. Did y'all go to church together or ever go to Houston to see a movie or things like that?
To Houston to a movie or to Sealy when the bridge was through across the Brazos.
Do you remember how you met your husband?
I don't know that it was the first time I met him, but I know we played bridge together. And I fussed at him when he didn't play like I wanted him to. And he continued to remind me of that every once in a while.
So, okay. Did you make your own clothes during this time, or did you buy them? Do you remember?
A lot of times we made our own clothes, but we did buy some too.
Were your parents very strict? I believe they were, weren't they?
Yes, they definitely were.
And wasn't your father a farmer?
He was a rice farmer and did some other kind of farming too, peanuts and cotton, corn.
Okay. And you said that after school you did your chores and things like that?
I helped more in the house when I was younger. As I got older then, I did milk a cow and gather the eggs.
Things like that?
Things like that.
And did you take any part of the youth activities at church? Do you remember?
My husband and I were counselors for the youth group.
What about when you yourself were in high school?
But when I was in high school myself, I don't really remember too much about it. I guess I was active in it, but I don't remember having any office.
Okay. I'm going back to your husband. Could you state his full name?
Arthur Michael Robichaux, Jr.
Junior.
But he was called Nebby.
Right. Do you remember how long y'all dated before you became engaged?
No, probably about 2 years.
Okay. Then do you remember how long the engagement itself was?
Probably about 6 months or longer. I don't remember for sure.
Okay. Now, about the wedding. On what day was the wedding?
March 11th, 1932.
Was it held at the Methodist Church?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a maid of honor or bridesmaids or anything like that?
Ruby and J.D. Woods stood up with us, and my sister Norma, and Boyce Tucker, who is deceased. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me what your dress looked like?
Yes, it was kind of an off-white lace with a little jacket, floor length.
Did your maid of honor and the rest of the bridesmaids have on anything special? Did they wear matching dresses? Do you remember?
I don't think their dresses matched. I think they just...
And you don't remember whether or not you had a reception after?
I really don't remember about the reception.
Okay. And you said
It might have been at the church, but I don't remember.
And you said that you did not have a honeymoon?
No. When we married, even though it was March, that was when we had snow. And the snow was still on the ground that night. And we had planned just to go out to our first home, out about 6.5 miles southeast of Katy. And the roads were black mud. So we spent our first night upstairs in the bedroom at home.
Oh, no. That is terrible.
Then the next day, in daylight, we did go on out to our little two-room house.
Okay.
No, we did have electricity, but no bathroom. I don't think there was running water either.
So how long did y'all stay south of town in that house?
Until about November.
Okay. And what was Nebby doing for a profession?
He was farming with Mr. Raleigh Robertson at that time.
Okay.
I mean, he was just hired help.
Hired help. Okay. What did your second home look like then?
We moved out onto my daddy's farm, northeast of Katy, and he was still just working kind of as a hired man on the farm. until one day he caught my daddy out on the rice levee and told him, I don't know what I'm going to be making. And he finally told him, gave him some idea of what he was going to be doing.
Okay.
Financial, like.
So, were you in the second home when you found out that you were going to have your first child?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember, who was your first child?
Madeline Joy.
Madeline Joy. Okay. Where was she born?
In the house there.
She was? Okay. Can you name all of your children in order for me?
Arthur Glenn was our next one. And Madeline Joy was about 21 months old when he was born. We still lived there at the same place. And he was born at home, too. All of them were born at home, except our last one. We had a different doctor with each one of the children because of deaths and moving away and everything. Do you want me to tell about the other children right now? In 1940 then, a cold, cold night in January 7th, Eileen was born. We lived in Brookshire then, on J.D. Wood's place, north of the railroad track. Then, when our last one, Helen, was born, we had moved into Brookshire and bought a house there. But she was born in the Sealy Hospital.
Okay.
And when she was born, she almost did not cry out. But after the doctor working with her, she did. And that first cry was wonderful.
Good. Did you want to tell me something else before you went on listing the children? You seemed to have something else to say. No?
We had another home in between there.
Okay.
We just lived 1 year out on Uncle Roy Morrison's place, northwest of Katy. And my husband worked with him on the farm there. When we moved to J.D. Wood's place, he started farming more on his own with J.D.
All during this time, was the Depression going on?
Mostly about the time that we married.
So, did you live on a pretty tight budget all during that time?
Right now, you would wonder how you would put any bread on the table. He was making $50 a month, and I was making $25 a month at the bank job. We were trying to save the $25, but after about a few months, the bank closed, so we didn't have that. So then we lived on the $50, somehow.
What about the baby clothes? Did you make them yourself, or did you buy them?
I don't remember of making them right when they were tiny babies, but as they grew older, I did make clothes for Madeline Joy and Arthur Glenn.
Okay.
And it was quite different making the little frilly things and then the little boys' dresses that they wore those days.
Did you have any help come in and help you with the children or the house?
There was people that lived on the place there, a Negro lady that came in and helped me some when they were little.
Do you think that you were a strict mother, as strict as your parents, or how did you discipline your children?
I tried to be very strict with, especially the first two. We realized later that we really did get a little bit more lax with Eileen and Helen. Things were changing, times were changing, and they wanted to do this and that and we lived in town where there were other children around to play with, and it made a difference in how you could keep your children under your own control.
I see. Okay. Is there anything else that you could tell me about high school or elementary school? Say in high school, did you and your friends go out ever together? Did you all go to church together? Did y'all ever have dances or go to people's houses to play bridge or 42, things like that? Do you remember?
Bridge seems to be one of the things that we played then. I don't really remember. We just lived right across the corner from the church, so we didn't really gang up with others to go to church unless we were going to visit one of the other churches in town. At that time, usually when one church had revival, well, it was a community revival, and maybe we would turn out services and go to theirs, and they would do the same thing.
Do you remember you or your sisters or brother ever having any type of curfew or times you had to be home?
Oh, yes. As near as I recall, it was only about 10 o'clock.
Really? Well, see, to me, that doesn't...
Unless on special things that they knew that you couldn't get in for that time.
Okay.
But when we would go to Houston for a show or anything, that's what we called them, was a show. You call them movies now. It was almost always the treat that we would stop by what we called the pig stand and get a roast pork sandwich kind of, I guess was what it was.
Uh-huh. And also something like an orange Julius. Do you remember an orange Julius? Orange, it's a drink with ice cream in it.
We got frosted Coke sometimes, but I don't really remember the orange drink.
Okay. Did you have any favorite subjects in school?
I guess math was probably my favorite. History, they could have left it alone.
How funny. Okay. Now, what do you think has been your biggest accomplishment?
I don't know. And one thing that I did on my own after I graduated from high school, we did not have typing and things like that in high school. And my sister Fabila had taken a business course down at Massey Business College in Houston.
She's the oldest.
She was our older sister.
Right, okay.
And she had her books there for typing. And so I did study those books and practiced, and what typing I do today is a result of taking that course on my own at home.
Okay.
And it's been a great help to me through the years.
What do you think has been the most difficult time in your life?
I guess the most difficult probably was when I lost my husband. We lived with the possibility of that for about 13 years or so after his first heart attack.
Right.
But when the end came, it was very sudden, and it was hard.
What do you think has been the best time of your life?
I guess when the children were all little and we just enjoyed our getting together, we had our time of devotions, family devotions. And I think it was a very good thing that we did for our children as well as us. And I remember that the Blackwells were here as our pastors at part of that time. and they were in our home quite a bit. And they would join us with our reading time, as we called it. Then TV came, and devotions flew out the window to a great extent, and I'm sorry.
Who has been the most influential person in your life, or the most influential people?
I guess I would have to say my parents. Maybe after that, my husband.
Okay. What?